Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Now, if you're an Australian business owner or maybe a C-level exec following the C9 podcast show or our business page, you definitely know that one of the biggest headaches right now is custom software pricing. I'm Lex.
And I'm Vera. It's great to be here. And yeah, Lex, the market confusion is, well, it's at an all-time high, particularly in Sydney.
Absolutely.
So our goal today is pretty straightforward. We're going to dive deep into a really critical document. It's called The Real Cost of Custom App Development in Sydney, a 2025 price breakdown.
Because those quotes you see, they're all over the place, right? From maybe $15,000 up to $500,000 or even more. It's genuinely overwhelming.
It really is.
So that's our mission today. We need to cut through all that noise and figure out what you're actually paying for. Look, at C9, we've delivered, over 100 complex software solutions now?
That's right.
And we know these massive price differences aren't just random. There are real drivers, things like the demand for AI features, this shift towards hybrid offshore-onshore teams, and frankly, wildly different quality standards.
Exactly. And our analysis today, it's focused specifically on the Sydney market. That's where expectations, and let's be honest, the price tags are arguably some of the highest in the world.
Right.
So to make this a bit easier to grasp, we've kind of structured the market into 3 main development tiers.
Okay, good. Let's unpack that first tier then. This is your entry point, right?
Yeah.
The simple app, or what people call the minimum viable product, the MVP.
Yeah, the MVP. That sweet spot is usually somewhere between, say, $30,000 and $65,000.
Yep.
And the timeline, you're looking at about 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
But what's really crucial for executives to get here is what you're not getting. It's typically just one platform, maybe iOS only to start.
Yeah.
You're getting perhaps 4 to 6 core screens, really basic user login, simple cloud database in the back.
So pretty basic stuff.
Basic push notifications, maybe.
So this isn't going to be some market-dominating app straight out of the gate. It's more like a proof of concept, like testing an idea.
Exactly. Think a quick internal inventory tracker. Or maybe a really focused appointment booking system. Something simple to validate the concept, not built to handle millions of users on day one.
Got it.
Correct. But the moment you need more, you move into tier 2. And this is where the game really changes. This is the medium complexity app.
Okay.
Here, the pricing jumps significantly. You're looking at $65,000, maybe up to $180,000. And the timeline stretches to more like 5 to 8 months.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge jump. So what's driving that extra $100,000 potentially?
Well, it's several things, really. First, you're usually going a multi-platform now, so iOS and Android.
Right.
Developers often use frameworks like React Native or Flutter, these cross-platform tools. Now, that can save time compared to building 2 completely separate native apps, sure, but it definitely introduces its own complexity.
Makes sense.
Second, you need more features, maybe 8 to 15 solid, robust features. And critically, this is where you start demanding custom UI UX, proper design.
Ah, right, that custom design piece. That's huge for user adoption, isn't it? Going beyond just a basic template, it starts to feel like your product, your brand.
Precisely. It stops looking like just a tool and feels like a polished application. Plus, Tier 2 almost always needs serious third-party integrations. That adds complexity and cost.
Like connecting to payment systems.
Yeah, exactly. You need Stripe for payments or maybe Google Maps for logistics features. And nowadays, even basic AI capabilities are often expected here. Think like a smart search bar that learns, or maybe a simple product recommendation engine.
Okay, interesting. And then we hit the big leagues, Tier 3.
Tier 3, yeah. Complex enterprise solutions. If you're playing this space, you're definitely looking at $180,000 as a starting point, easily going up to $500,000, sometimes more. And the timeline reflects that, 10 to 16 months, maybe longer.
Okay, serious investment.
This is absolutely mission-critical infrastructure. We're talking 20-plus features, often needing real-time data sync across different systems, and usually leveraging advanced AI or machine learning models, not just that basic stuff from Tier 2.
And I guess the back-end architecture gets way more complex, too. It's not just a simple database anymore.
Oh, absolutely. You're looking at complex back-end structures, often things like microservices where the app's actually broken down into smaller, independent services that talk to each other. That's crucial for massive scalability and reliability down the line.
Right, for handling huge loads.
Exactly. And crucially, this tier demands high-level compliance. Think about the legal and security hoops you need to jump through for financial data, like PCI DSS or healthcare data, HIPAA.
Yeah, you can't mess that up.
failure there isn't just a software bug. It's potentially a massive regulatory fine or a lawsuit. We're talking sophisticated fintech platforms, complex supply chain tracking systems, things like that.
Okay, so we've laid out the tiers, the price tags. Let's drill down into why Sydney commands such a premium. Cost driver number one has to be the developer rates, right? We know senior city developers charge, what, $120 to $180 plus per hour?
Easily, yeah.
So why should an executive listening to this choose that? Why not go for the, say, $50, $80 an hour rates you can find regionally or offshore?
That's a really good question. And C-levels, they already know the hourly rate is different. What they need to understand is the risk mitigation they're actually buying with that premium.
It's like insurance.
In a way, yes. That premium pays for things like deep local compliance expertise, someone who genuinely understands Australia's specific privacy laws, consumer laws. It pays for real-time collaboration, same time zone, easy meetings, and just that shared understanding of local business practices, which drastically cuts down on miscommunication and delays.
Okay, that makes sense. And I guess this is where a hybrid approach like the one we use at C9 comes in. It offers a strategic advantage.
Definitely.
You want that top-tier Sydney quality oversight, that $180 an hour solution architect designing the system, managing compliance, but maybe you don't need to pay that absolute premium for every single hour of coding, right?
Precisely. That's the core idea. By blending our onshore strategic oversight with highly skilled offshore development teams, we can offer that Sydney-level quality and rigor, but at overall costs that are often 30–40% lower than the agencies relying purely on those high local rates for everything.
Right.
It's about smart resource allocation. You're strategically paying variable rates, maybe, $65 to $85 an hour for a more junior developer executing well-defined tasks, while reserving that premium $150, $180 rate for the really specialized architecture, planning, and critical oversight.
Okay, intelligent use of resources.
Yeah.
So let's move to cost drivers 2 and 3. Complexity and integrations. We mentioned things like React Native can save maybe 20–30% by avoiding 2 separate code bases. But integrations, they seem like the silent budget killer sometimes.
Oh, they absolutely are. Every time you connect to an external system, that's custom work. Even a simple payment gateway like Stripe. Integrating that securely, handling all the potential errors, that might add $2,000 to $5,000 worth of development time right there.
Just for one connection.
Just for one.
Yeah.
And if you need something more advanced, like integrating video calling capabilities, that could easily run $5,000 to $15,000 just for that single feature, depending on the complexity.
Wow. And the visual side, that custom UI UX we mentioned in Tier 2,
Yeah.
that could really inflate the budget too, can it? From maybe a $5K template cost.
Up to $40,000 or even more for a fully bespoke, highly polished custom design. It's that difference between something being just functional and something being truly beautiful and intuitive to use. And achieving that beauty flawlessly takes significant developer time to implement correctly.
Right. Which actually leads us nicely into a pretty serious warning, doesn't it? For anyone tempted by those rock-bottom quotes, the ones coming in at $15K, $20K.
Yes. You are essentially inviting what we've started calling the AI Cowboy into your business.
The AI Cowboy. I like that term. Tell us more. Are they just, using modern tools really efficiently, or is there a genuine danger here?
There is profound long-term risk. Look, the AI Cowboy uses tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, things like that, to just rapidly generate huge amounts of code. We sometimes joke it's vibes coding.
Vibes coding.
Yeah, they generate code that looks okay, maybe it even runs initially, but they often do it without truly understanding the underlying architecture, the security implications, or the business context. They seem fast and cheap up front. That's the lure.
Okay, so what are the actual consequences then of building your critical business platform on a foundation of, well, vibes coding?
Catastrophe, usually. It tends to manifest in 3 main ways. Number 1, security vulnerabilities. AI tools are, frankly, notorious for generating code that seems fine, but is riddled with classic security flaws.
What?
Like SQL injection, for example. That's where a malicious user can literally talk directly to your database through a simple web form because the input wasn't sanitized properly. Or things like accidentally exposing sensitive API keys in the code because the AI tool didn't recognize their significance.
That's absolutely terrifying for any business handling customer data or financial information.
It is, and it happens. Number 2, you get this technical debt avalanche. Think of it like this. Building a solid application is like carefully laying the steel framework for a skyscraper. The AI Cowboy comes along and puts up a really impressive-looking facade, but it's built on a foundation of sand.
So it looks good for a while.
Exactly. The code works, maybe, for the initial launch, but it's completely unscalable, brittle, and almost impossible to maintain. Trying to add even a minor feature 6 months down the track, it can require completely rebuilding huge sections because the initial foundation was so unstable. You end up paying exponentially more later just to fix the mess.
Okay, debt is a good analogy. What's the third major consequence?
Total vendor lock-in. When that AI Cowboy inevitably moves on to the next cheap gig, what are you left with? The documentation, if it exists at all, is often sparse, completely unhelpful, or maybe just badly generated by another AI tool.
So no one knows how it works.
Precisely. There's no proper knowledge transfer, no clear code structure that another developer can easily understand, and frankly, no reputable development agency will want to touch that code base. They'll almost certainly tell you the only viable option is a complete rewrite from scratch. So that initial cheap price, it always costs you vastly more in the long run.
Okay, that's a sobering picture. So how do we protect ourselves? How do businesses avoid falling into this trap?
The answer really lies in the one step that, unfortunately, far too many executives try to skip, often to save a bit of money up front: the discovery phase.
Right, discovery. Many people see it as just optional overhead, don't they? That extra $8,000 to $15,000 cost, adding 3 or 4 weeks before any real coding even starts. Why is that initial investment so critical? Why is it non-negotiable for success?
Because discovery is the blueprint. You wouldn't hire a builder to start pouring the foundation for your new office tower before they'd actually drawn up detailed architectural plans, would you?
No, of course not.
Discovery does the same for software. It involves crucial stakeholder interviews to really understand the business needs, detailed user journey mapping to see how people will actually use the app, and the key output, typically a 40 to 80-page technical specification document. This document is what turns those vague business requirements into precise, actionable, engineer-ready instructions.
And this is the key to getting accurate pricing, isn't it? Without discovery, agencies can only really give you indicative pricing, and that's often only accurate to within, what, plus or minus 50%, which is wildly unacceptable for serious budgeting.
Exactly. It's basically a rough guess based on a generic template. Discovery, on the other hand, allows us to move to proper discovery-based pricing, and that should be accurate to within 10%.
10%. Much
Wow.
better.
Much better. The difference is simple. Discovery-based pricing isn't a guess. It's a granular estimation, often calculated down to the nearest hour for every single feature, every screen, every integration, because the engineering team now has a clear, detailed blueprint to follow.
We actually had a real-world case recently, a Sydney retail client, that illustrates this perfectly. Almost a disaster averted. They came to us after getting a quote for $45,000 from another vendor.
Right, and that vendor had completely skipped the discovery phase.
Yeah, that $45K quote was based purely on what the client thought they needed initially.
But once we initiated a proper discovery process with them, we started uncovering all these hidden, absolutely mission-critical requirements that had been completely ignored. Things like needing real-time data synchronization across 12 different physical store locations.
It's just complex.
Very. Plus, complex integration with their existing point-of-sale systems, multi-tier user permissions for different staff roles, and, crucially, essential offline functionality because the Wi-Fi in some stores was notoriously patchy. None of that was in the initial $45K scope.
So what was the actual required project cost once all that was factored in after discovery?
It turned out the actual required budget was closer to $120,000. Now, obviously, that's a much higher number.
Sure.
But crucially, by identifying that up front, the client could budget correctly. They understood the real scope, secured the necessary funding, and ultimately, the project was a success because it actually met their real business needs.
Whereas if they'd gone with the initial $45,000 quote,
Disaster. They would have burned through that $45K budget incredibly quickly, probably before even tackling the critical POS integration. Then they would have been stuck in this painful cycle of scope creep, likely paying tens of thousands more, maybe another $60,000 in frustrating change requests trying to patch the missing functionality.
and probably still ended up with something that didn't work properly.
Very likely. They might have abandoned the whole project after wasting the initial $45K plus the extra $60K, essentially throwing away over $100,000 and getting nothing of value.
So that discovery phase, that initial $10K, $15K investment, didn't just cost them money. It literally saved them from wasting over $100,000 and ensured their eventual $120 investment actually delivered.
Absolutely. It guarantees you're building the right thing the first time.
Okay. So thinking about maximizing that return on investment, we also need to talk about cash flow. Because the goal for executives, it isn't just launching an app, right? It's getting tangible business value from it as quickly as possible. And that's where stage development comes in.
Yes, stage development is really critical, especially for managing risk and optimizing that cash flow instead of the traditional risky big bang approach where you wait maybe 12 months for everything.
And hope it works.
And hope it works, exactly. We deliver value incrementally. So let's say you have that medium complexity app budgeted at $120,000. Instead of funding it all at once, maybe you fund stage one, the MVP, with, say, $55,000. You launch those core features quickly.
And start getting benefits sooner.
Immediately. You start gaining operational efficiencies, maybe reducing manual tasks, getting user feedback. Then you fund stage two to add more features, stage three, and so on.
And financially, that accelerates everything, doesn't it? Stage delivery can bring your time to first ROI forward by potentially up to 5 months compared to waiting for one massive single-stage project.
Easily. And it distributes the financial risk across several smaller, more manageable phases. We often see significant operational efficiency gains quite early on, things like reducing manual processes by 25% to 40% just with the stage one launch.
So what's a typical ROI timeframe for, say, a medium app using this staged model?
For a typical medium complexity app, delivering value incrementally like this, you'd usually expect to achieve a positive ROI within about 12 to 18 months.
Okay, that's a tangible time frame for businesses.
Definitely. Now, one final point that executives absolutely must factor into their budget planning: the hidden ongoing costs, the initial development fee. That's just the beginning.
Right, it doesn't stop at launch.
Not at all. You absolutely must budget for annual maintenance. That's typically around 15–20% of the initial development cost per year, just to keep things running smoothly, update security patches, adapt to OS changes.
And App Store fees.
Yep. App Store fees, Apple's is currently $149 per year. And don't forget potential legal and compliance review fees, especially if you're in a regulated industry. That could add another $1,000 to $5,000 or more depending on the complexity. These need to be in the budget from day one.
Good practical reminders.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've covered a lot: tiers, costs, risks, ROI, hidden fees. We've focused heavily on the cost side of things. But if we pull back and connect this to the bigger strategic picture for the C-level executives listening, the sources we looked at, they talk a lot about cost. But maybe the most crucial element moving forward isn't just the initial price tag itself.
I agree. I think it's more about quantifying the enormous financial risk of security failure, of regulatory noncompliance, especially when you're tempted by that cheaper non-vetted code, possibly built on those unstable vibes coding foundations we talked about.
Right.
It really requires shifting the entire investment conversation, moving away from just asking, how much does the app cost to build, towards the much more critical question, how much will failure cost us?
How much does failure cost? That is the calculation that really defines modern software investment, isn't it? Especially in the enterprise space.
Absolutely. That's the key strategic question.
Wow. Okay, that's a really profound thought to end on. So just to quickly summarize the key takeaways for everyone listening. First, never rely solely on that initial indicative pricing. It's often wildly inaccurate.
Right. You absolutely must prioritize that upfront discovery phase to guarantee budget accuracy, aiming for that critical 10% tolerance range.
And fundamentally, beware the AI cowboy, offering what seems like unbelievably cheap code. It's almost always unstable, insecure, and will inevitably cost you tenfold, if not more, in the long run, through technical debt and rework.
Well said. So if this deep dive has helped clarify some of the overwhelming complexity in the Sydney app development market right now, we really encourage you to take the next step.
Yeah, if you're ready to move past the confusion and actually transform your app vision into measurable business results, and importantly, if you want that Sydney-level quality and assurance, but without paying the full, pure local agency premium, then book your free 60-minute consultation with us.
We can give you an honest assessment of your needs and some preliminary technical recommendations tailored specifically to your business.
Remember that C9 is Australia's leading custom software, apps, integration, and database developer company.
You can find out more about us and explore the benefits of our hybrid model advantage over at www.c9.com.au.
And if this deep dive gave you some valuable insights into navigating those huge price variances, please do click that follow button wherever you're listening. and maybe share this information with any other Australian business owners or executives you know who could benefit from this knowledge.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the deep dive.
Catch you next time.